Ladies and gentlemen, I observe a lot online because I spend an inordinate amount of time online, and I like to watch people's reactions. I like to see how people interact online. That's always been kind of a lame hobby of mine, but it's fine because it leads me to delve into real human interaction. I know that online interactions are, for the most part, shrouded in anonymity, and people can kind of be who they really truly want to be under this veil of, you don't know my real persona. That's all well and good, but when you boil it down, they have to type their fingers, they have to speak into the Siri or whatever, and they have to or type to text or talk to text, all that good stuff. So these are real people behind everything that we see online. No matter what. No matter how many people will tell you, oh, you're just a Russian bot. And from what I observe online, it seems that we are all stewing and sitting in what I like to call the Vendetta era. It becomes very easy for us online, and therefore in real life, to paint the quote-unquote other side of things as the nastiest, the most horrible kind of person that we can't stand, yet we can't stop talking about. Some of you may know this, but I consider myself more conservative than I do liberal. I voted for Donald Trump. I did, and I'm never going to apologize for that. You can be mad at me. You can be the Vendetta era folks all you want. I don't give any sort of S about it. And I'm really going to try not to swear on this podcast. It's just what's going to happen. And for people that I've encountered, not just online, but in my day-to-day life, people that say that they dislike the man the most really have no problem talking about him the most. I voted for the guy, and I don't talk about him nearly as much as some people in my waking life do. They're allowing him to live rent-free inside of their heads. Therefore, the anger and the vendetta grows, because the more you observe and the more you see, the more that you are able to pick apart, the more that you're able to absorb and grasp, and can't figure out for the life of you why he does the things he does. So what is that? What happens? And all that anger and bile stews within you and stays there until you unleash it on someone and say something so clever like, well, Trump can't spell UCLA. Why vendetta? Why the anger? Why is everybody so upset? This is the era of talking points and discussions that go nowhere, and people saying a lot but not really, or people talking a lot rather but not really saying much. It's the era of, yeah, but what about this? Or, well, where were you when this? And so what you're saying is... There doesn't seem to be any one page that we're on, because it's impossible to be on one page, because the moment that we are venturing there, another news story pops up and we're supposed to care about it. It's a deluge of news. And I know I live in a newsroom for my work, for my job. I live in a newsroom. So it's one story after the other. How do you delineate where your care is supposed to go? People online will tell you what you're supposed to care about, and you have to care about Stormy Daniels, you have to care about Michael Cohen, you have to care about Gina Haspel, you have to care about everything that Trump's doing, you have to care about the bromance between Trump and Macron, you have to care about all of these things, and if you don't care about it in the same way that I care about it, then you are a hater, you're a terrible person, and you're probably X, Y, and Z worst thing about the other side you could possibly muster. Living in the newsroom like I do, it becomes very difficult for me to delineate my care. My care for something definitely is not the same thing as the care that a lot of people online, that ones that get the most likes and retweets, the Krasenstein brothers effect. My care does not go there. I'm never going to be one of these people who hashtag resists. Well, what are you resisting? I don't know. They're just resisting the fact that the man is in power. They don't like him, so we got to resist. You have to resist. You have to be angry at everything that he does. You can't like a single thing that he's doing that could be construed as positive. Everything has to be negative. As long as you dunk on the haters, you'll be hoisted into the limelight. We're in a race to prove the other guy incorrect. It doesn't matter what's going on our side of the issue. It doesn't even matter because that's not important right now. What's important is that the other guy is doing it wrong. He's not doing it the way that I want him to do it, so therefore I'm going to be mad about it. Say somebody online does a thing that doesn't quite jibe with what you're into. You take a thing personally. For example, there was this recent story about a young girl who wore a traditional Chinese garb to her prom. Now, this blew up. This went global. This story went global. And the fact is, it all happened because one guy took it personally. And when things are taken personally, they become relatable in a way. And people want relatability. But if you're relaying a personal struggle and a personal issue with something, it allows for a lot of different kinds of strings to be plucked out of it, a lot of threads that can be pulled from a certain kind of story. So the fact is, people see this one girl doing something that in one guy's eyes is offensive. So obviously everybody else has to be offended. Why? Because one guy's offended. He related to the offense there. Well, I feel you. I feel bad that you're offended. I'll be offended for you too. And it's not enough to just be offended. This is where the vendetta comes in. We get so angry at somebody for doing something that we have to destroy their lives. You have to be so mad that you will go after the lifeblood of another person because they did a thing you don't like. Now, there's a lot of people in this world that I don't like, that I don't care for, that I think are shills, I think are hustlers, and I think are not contributing as well to the conversation that is going on in the world. It has never, ever crossed my mind that I want to destroy them. I don't vow revenge on people. I just know that I have to do better in my own way. Not so online. And if I may, I think for the most part, I think liberals tend to take it to that extreme. They will take it to the outside of things and say, we've got to destroy this person before it's too late. I don't know what the late is, but on the whole, I think conservatives, while they will get mad at people, I think that it's more of these baseless threats that come forth. These baseless threats. The conservatives will throw out the baseless threats, but the liberals will play dirty in a way. More so than conservatives. You see article after article on Daily Mail about someone, I got death threats for who I am. And it's mostly like people like Tess Holliday. She gets death threats for being a bigger model. Yeah, okay, sure. But from my observation, it's the conservatives who are going to toss out these baseless accusations. They want to fawn like they are tough guys. They'll peacock like they're tough guys, when in reality, if you break it down enough, if you poke holes in enough logic, they'll concede. Liberals, on the other hand, will just not talk to you. They'll either fling mud in your face and walk away, or they'll just walk away altogether. But sometimes in their wake, they will leave a lot of destruction. This is just my observation. You are free to disagree with it. When it comes to disagreements online, there's very little counter arguments going on. It's just a lot of people pointing and laughing so they can feel for themselves morally superior to that person that did the thing that was so bad. They did something so bad, we must attack. We must boycott. Boycott Starbucks. Boycott the NRA. Boycott Netflix. Boycott Tide Pods. Boycott things you hate, but make fun of everyone else for boycotting things that they hate. We're all doing the same thing. We're all mixing in this stew. We're all creating our own juices and our own gravy, but not analyzing what we may be doing that's wrong. Of course, because why? We think every course of action that we take is the correct one. Why wouldn't we? Why would we do a thing that we didn't think was the right thing to do? But I ask you to think about this. Any kind of backlash or any kind of outrage that you see against something, is it coming from just one voice? Or are we assuming that that one voice or a couple voices, are we assuming that that voice speaks for everybody? Take Kanye West, for example. Conservatives just, thank you, Kanye. You like the president. I'm so proud of you. Then he turns around and says that Emma Gonzalez, a Parkland school shooting survivor, he said she's one of his heroes. Oh, Kanye, how could you? Oh, my goodness. Well, you're making one guy speak for everybody. How you feel. He's allowed to feel more than one thing, conservatives. You don't need to vendetta against him. You just let it exist as it exists. And the way I believe that you hone in on this kind of mindset, that a live and let live policy, I know that a lot of people say that they do, but they really don't. They are more quick to judge than they like to admit. The way you do this is you have to hone in on where your moral compass lies. Because that sucker can point all sorts of directions depending on where the magnetism lies. I believe people are starting to realize that their own moral compass can go all sorts of different directions, and things are not really fit into the nice box that we think they are. We're very obsessed, both sides of the issue. We're very much obsessed with praying for that blue wave to hit in November or that red tide to come in. We want the blue, or we want to see all blue. We want to see all red because the one side has all the answers. They don't. We're starting to pick and choose in this sea that we're living in. We're starting to find that there's independent thoughts springing up. Independent waves crashing against different shores. And finding those can be difficult if you've got your red or blue blinders on. If you've got those blinders on that allow you to think that the other side is the worst kind of side. The ones that you want to be mad at, and the ones that you got to get all that aggression out on. And make them pay for what they did and said. A thing that wasn't nice. How dare they? Do we ever just stop to think that perhaps another person has different standards in their life? You know, if you meet somebody that doesn't hold the same standards you do, why is the first thought to vilify? Where is the pause? Why the rush to judgment? I understand if someone is preaching hate speech, then yeah, you can make a moral judgment on that person. But half the time, people just say a thought that isn't offensive on the surface. Something that just comes to their mind. If they're using slurs, then you say, what the hell's the matter with you? But most of the time, we map out what another person's intentions are. And you can't do that because you can't speak for another person. You can't tell another person your intention was this because it wasn't. How the heck would you ever know that? Can you speak for another person? I know I can't. I can only speak for me. So I don't try to tell another person what their intentions were. Your intention, girl wearing that prom dress, you just wanted to make fun of Chinese people. Oh, she did. She totally did. She wanted to offend everybody, didn't she? Maybe in your own mind, she did, but she didn't. Even, in fact, an overwhelming amount of actual Chinese people living in China were thrilled that she was wearing it. It was a statistic that came out. 93% of Chinese people polled said, love it, good job. We may not always be on the same page, but a part of me remains optimistic that at least people are paying attention. They're understanding that there's a lot of things going on. We need an aggregate of news, basically, because there's so much, and it's never going to stop in this information age that we're in. So it's good that people are paying attention to what's going on. What I think we are doing is our outrage has become far too selective. We need to be angry about everything. We need to find something. There's always going to be something wrong with a thing. It can't just exist and be good. On the surface, it has to be bad. And if we can't find anything bad, we have to manufacture that outrage. And that's where the vendetta lies. Somebody did something. Somebody on a certain side did something that it appeals to me. It's not so bad. But they're on that side. They're on that side. That's not good enough. I have to be mad at them. I have to go against them in some way. Again, there's no pause there. There's no objectivity there. There's no just looking at a certain aberrant thought and seeing it on as it exists. You have to go back and see what else they said because I'm not going to agree with the thing that they said. I just won't. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't agree with everything that everybody has ever done. Now, the people in my life that I love dearly, I don't agree with a lot of the things they say. Doesn't make me dislike them. Makes me like them even more because you can talk about things like that. Did we ever just stop to think that maybe, perhaps, what someone says and what they mean are two different things? Do we ever just stop to think that because a flashy headline exists and gives us the gist of the story means you don't know everything that's going on? Why are we content with our first instinct, our first interpretations of what something said? That's the correct thing. That's the only thing that can exist. Why is that the first and only thing that we think? We don't want to explore all the different ways it can be interpreted. And why? Because we're lazy and because we have an abundance of things to worry about. We can't put all our focus into just one thing. Don't you think that things kind of lose their cachet if we constantly are against it? How many times can you anti-Trump people say that you don't like Trump? How many times can you say it without it becoming stale? I just see over and over again, we must resist. We have to resist the blue wave. I'm angry. I don't like this guy. How many times can you do that until it just breaks you down mentally? I don't know. And sometimes I feel personally it's hard for me to get into any kind of discussion with a liberal because the counter arguments I get come from a very personal place. And I can't argue with someone's personal feelings because that's how they feel. And I can't discount the feelings. Conservatives will tell you that, well, facts don't care about your feelings. Well, that may be true, but conservatives need to realize that they've got more feelings than liberals sometimes do. Feelings aren't bad. Feelings make us relatable to one another. We all have feelings, except for like a few choice individuals who are, in fact, sociopaths. That's fine. It's not fine, but you know. Instead of just being mad, instead of just being angry and feeling one thing, maybe we're in a position where we can explore that feeling. And why do I feel that way? What is it about this particular person or this particular side? What about it makes me angry? Is it because I can't control it? Is it because they're different than me? I don't know the answer to this. I don't know, because when it comes to me personally, I've talked to people all over the political spectrum. And people are very nice to me. Well, because I'm nice back and I'm so cute, you can't be mad at me. But this just goes to show me that if you actively engage and actively want to discuss and talk and not worry about making the other person's life miserable in the process, then you can actually learn a lot and you can actually get things done. It's not enough to just simply be against something in this day and age. I can be against something, but I don't feel the need to resist it, or I have to push back, or I have to retweet a thing for attention. Do you ever think that the more you hear something, the more echo chambery it becomes? When you're not speaking in your own voice, you're only speaking in talking points, how stale it becomes. This day and age, we are constantly being force-fed almost that these brilliant conservative thinkers, when all they're doing is parroting talking points. How is that a thought? Where is the thought? You're just a talking head. Why? Because talking points grabs our attention. We hear a thing that makes us think or makes us say, yeah, me too. But after them talking points are done, and what do you have left? What are you left with after the attention has been held? I believe we are holding everybody else to a certain standard that we ourselves are not willing to go to. We want everybody else to be perfect, and we want everybody else to be adherent to what we think and how we think. And we expect it from other people. We expect them to think exactly like we do. But when they don't, that's it. You're done. How dare you? How dare you not think like me? When it comes to Trump, we hold him to a standard that we could not even a million years adhere to. I would never want to be the president of the United States, especially in 2018, when every little thing that he's done is put under the microscope. We expect him, as the leader of the country, to know what everyone is about, what everybody's feeling, and everything that's going on. Yet, we're fully free at the same time to disregard everyone who has different thoughts too. I've said this before, I believe Trump is just the lightning rod. He catches everything. He catches complete adoration. He catches vilification. He catches it all. And we want him to be this, in some respects, we want him to be the guy in charge that will take care of everybody. That's what you want out of a president, one that will take care of everybody. But it's not enough. We got to get him out of here. For some, we got to get him out. He can't be there anymore because he's not doing his job. There's the vendetta. You get him out. Who do you got? You got Pence. You want Pence? Well, you put him there, Trump voters. You did this. I finally have somebody that I can put my anger to. It was your fault, Trump voters. Maybe it's not fault. Maybe it's just what happened. Maybe things that are going on is not the worst thing in the entire world. Maybe we're all overreacting because we're all confused as to what's going on. It's a confusing time. I fully admit that. I don't know heads or tails of what's going on anymore. I shake my head every single day in our editorial meeting. I shake my head, just what is in the world is even going on? It's very hard to adequately express our feelings these days. It's fine giving our gut instincts. It's fine giving those provocateur kind of answers that will get us any kind of attention that we so crave. That's easy to do. It's much harder and much more difficult to sit with the uncomfortability and to really process why we feel what we feel without vilifying everybody else in the process. The way to real progress is to first look inside ourselves and be open and honest with how we feel. Because you don't have all the answers and I don't have all the answers. I'm not here to sell you any kind of certainty because I believe that anybody selling you certainty is full of shit. People are going to disagree with you and you're going to disagree with people. It doesn't mean that their life has to be destroyed because of that. If you spend a lot of time online like I do, perhaps it's best to remember that there are people behind those screens. And you got to know who to avoid and who you can really interact with, because there's a lot of people I don't want to interact with online. And that's fine. You don't have to. You just know that it exists and know to avoid it. Because eventually, everybody eats themselves. There's always going to be someone behind you that's going to do whatever it takes to come out on top. And then there'll be one behind that person, and then one behind that person. It's a vendetta after vendetta after vendetta until there's only one person left with that mindset. And then what happens? We're learning to discuss. Conversations are happening, and it's a pleasure to see. I just hope that people realize, things aren't so bad. Things aren't as bad as you think they are. But you know what? If all else fails, you can always tweet a GIF that adequately expresses those feelings. That'll get you the likes you need. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. This is going to be a new thing for me. Not entirely sure where it's going to go. I hope that everything came together very well. If you'd like more, you can follow me on Twitter at HelloGines, HelloGines, or shoot an email to gina.annunziato@gmail.com. That's ANNUNZIATO. I'll be doing more, I hope, and I just want to thank you again for listening to the Ginescast. See you next time.